enjoyable game at the Emirates for pretty much everybody except Arsenal fans. Manchester United definitely played their part in that, and we will talk about them shortly. But it's just 2 points in the last 9 now for Arsenal. If Arsenal fans are starting to get nervous, how concerned should they be, Wayne?
Yeah, I think they should be concerned because I think over the last few seasons, Arsenal have been in some really good positions and the fans, they've seen this happen before. So, you know, these bad memories are coming back. And I think over the last 3 games, picking up 2 points will be a concern for not just the fans, but the players and the manager.
I actually think it will give them a jolt, a gentle reminder they're not going to have it all their own way. I don't fear for them as much as Wayne maybe. And I have to say, they came up against the Manchester United team today. Brilliant performance. Their top players all played well, although it pains me to say it. They did. They played really, really well. And sometimes if you're not quite out and you come up against a side who are banging form, you lose. And they can't win every week. They're going to have these little blips along the way, but I think they'll bounce back. They
did start really well, though, Arsenal. So what changed, Wayne?
Yeah, Arsenal started the game really well, and I think from there they maybe got a little bit complacent. So we've attacked Manchester United and allowed them back in the game, and ultimately they've lost the game because of it.
That safety plan from Arsenal, is that sort of playing into the fact that they aren't getting these goals from open play, Danny? Because when Arsenal do well, we praise them for how effective they are from set pieces. When they don't do so well, we look at the fact that they can't really score from open play. They're as low down as 17th in terms of the percentage of goals that come from open play. Is that a worry for you, do you think?
It's becoming more of a concern. I mean, I don't think Wayne...
Even though they're second for goals scored overall in the Premier League?
Yeah, but they're so heavily reliant on set plays. I don't think Wayne or I realised they were 17th in open play, and they've spent a lot of money on players to supplement what's already a good forward line. Nobody's won the Premier League with a goal scorer who hasn't got 13 goals. I think it was Man City and Chelsea, Gundogan and Lampard in years gone by. They've got Gyökeres and Trossard with 5. Now, they might break this rule because they are so good at set plays, probably the best we've ever seen. They might. But it must be a concern for Arteta that he's got this abundance of talent in forward areas and can't seem to get the creative element to them to score the goals. It's becoming... No goals against Forest, no goals against Liverpool. They had an own goal today in a set play. It's got to get better.
Arsenal then looking to improve as they push for that Premier League title. For Manchester United, it's just a second game under Michael Carrick, and yet we're starting to see some kind of shoots of recovery from them. And Bruno Fernandes right at the front of that, Danny.
Well, he's a phenomenal player, but he wasn't the only one. Senior players like Maguire, Casemiro and Mbomo's led the line twice now beautifully, you know, done really well, like really comfortable with it. Martinez is back in there, the keeper's settled in. But they look happier. Their body language is good. They all want the ball. They're all the plaudits because he's just that little bit above in terms of his levels and his game management. Superb.
And the other person who's getting a lot of plaudits is Michael Carrick. Players are always going to praise a new manager because they want to get on the right side of him. But Matheus Cunha absolutely glowing in his praise of Carrick. Lisandro Martinez has already posted on social media talking about the work that Carrick and his backroom team do as well. You know him. What's he been doing to get this performance out of Manchester United?
I think a level of calmness, I think, which hasn't been there, I think, for quite a while now. And I think when you look at Michael Carrick, you think he's a quiet lad and he studied the game, he understands the game, and he's gone into that job and knowing it's a difficult job to do. But what he's done, he's brought the basics back to Manchester United and players working hard, you know, players getting behind the ball, they're running for each other, they're working together for each other, and they're more confident. And certainly after the last weekend's win, they're more confident. So I actually seen him on Saturday morning, and he said to me he had to stop training. The training was that good. He wanted to try and bottle it up and make sure they had that performance for the game the following day, which obviously we seen we did. But I think he's done superb, and I'm absolutely delighted for him.
I think one part of that though must be, and you can tell me better, but he must be communicating with the players better in terms of freeing them up. Because when I talk about body language, players being more confident on the ball, that comes from your leader giving you that freedom. And maybe before it was more rigid in that Amarin system, we don't know. But is he a good communicator in that respect?
Oh, unbelievable communicator. And I think for the best managers, what you need to do is make sure every player, as you said about Cunha, every player is happy and wants to play for you. And I think the last 2 weeks have really shown that. And Cunha's come off the bench twice, and he's had the impact of his assist for Mason Mount, and obviously his winning goal today. So his communication will have been spot on.
Because the question about Manchester United has always been, how good is this squad? How good are the players that Manchester United have at their disposal? And you can see the difference that those sort of intangible things like confidence, like belief, can do to a squad. And that's almost the hardest job for a manager. And you can go in and you can work on set pieces, or you can work on certain tactics or shape, but confidence seems to be the hardest one.
Yeah, confidence, but he's given belief into that group of players, I think. Sometimes with young coaches, and I think with Ruben Amorim when he was at the time, sometimes coaches are guilty of overcomplicating things and
too much information.
trying to give the players too much information. Yeah. I think what Michael's done, he's gone in and he's given them not so much information, but actually just reminds them the basics, what I spoke about before, of making sure you do that right. And then they have got good players in there who can win games.
Dorgu's the best example of that. The last 2 games.
You're not going to win a league title and have it all your own way. It's not a bed of roses. It's never going to be a procession. You're not going to basically sort of be allowed just to sort of canter over the line at will. So they shouldn't be too down tonight, but that will rock them. If you were in that dressing room now, that will be a pretty low place. And Mikel Arteta, his coaching staff, will go home tonight and there'll be some searching. Right, come on, how do we pick this up? How do we reset? How do we get this right? What do we do tomorrow? Because that won't be easy, that one. Because there'll be a lot of people watching that football match. You just got a feeling before the game today, Peter, didn't you? This was a giant game that was going to be watched just because of what Manchester United did last week. The intrigue about could they repeat it and could they come again? Yeah, so I think that you're just thinking about what will be happening in that Arsenal dressing room. The fans will obviously be very down tonight. But there's a long way to go and they have to reset. They have to calm themselves. But they've not got a lot of experience in that dressing room of winning Premier League titles. And when you're winning your first one, it's the toughest. It's the toughest. For me, when I was obviously, I was helped enormously by the fact that there were experienced players that had gotten over the line. But if you think about when Manchester United won that first title, they lost it the year before to Leeds and then they won it. It's always bloody tough. And they're going to find it tough mentally. They're going to find it, you find it tough mentally, it means that you physically just feel it a little bit more as well. But they're going to have to get back on the bike. They've fallen over today. It's been a bad fall for them because they made some really big mistakes in that game. If we get to the technical part of the game, rather than thinking about the sort of the way in which the sort of world will present this tomorrow, it'll be that Arsenal are under pressure. I thought they played well in the first 20-25 minutes. They controlled the game, as you've seen Arsenal do so many times. They didn't let Manchester United out. All the game was down towards this end. But they weren't inventive enough. They didn't take enough risks. And they allowed Manchester United just to let it swing back. However, at the point where Manchester United just got a little bit of control, Arsenal scored a goal. Arsenal scored a goal at a point where Manchester United just started to play a little bit. In that last 5 minutes, I think United had 70-odd% possession. But their reaction to scoring the goal was terrible. And there was a telling moment, I think, when Manchester United got their first real counter-attack, when I think Mbeumo goes through. He's got Gabriel and Saliba coming back at him, and he turns back and he plays it to Bruno Fernandes, and Bruno Fernandes just snatches at it and pulls it past the near post. And Mikel Arteta, you can see him right down beneath us here, because he's a feature when you're at Arsenal, because he's always so active. He's fuming that they've allowed Manchester United to have a chance, because they've given encouragement. And then there was another chance straight after that, and then the goal came. And it was self-inflicted pain by Arsenal. It really was in that 10-15 minutes before half-time. Because United at that point hadn't really got going. They didn't look dangerous. They didn't look like they got the connections going. Bruno Fernandes had given a couple of passes away. But the way in which Arsenal reacted to their own goal going in, I think gave United real encouragement. And from the very first minute of the second half, there were only one team that were actually dominant, and that was Manchester United. They were by far the better team in the second half. Michael Carrick's men went in with positivity. Mikel Arteta came out, I think, and realised that his team had gone under a little bit and they were nervous in that last 10 minutes of the first half. Where's that nervousness come from when they've scored that goal? Where's that anxiety come from? How has it surfaced in this match? It happened against Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, didn't it, here, where they had a warning sign. Liverpool just didn't have quite enough up front, if you remember. Liverpool had lots of players missing in that game and couldn't go and hurt them. But Manchester United, they've got Mbeumo, they've got Ahmad, they've got Bruno Fernandes, they've got Mount, they've got Šeško, they've got Dorgu. They've got players who are really capable of hurting you, and they've been hurt tonight, Arsenal. And then he threw the kitchen sink at it. But threw the kitchen sink at it in a way which was... He half threw the kitchen sink at it. Marino came on. Ben White came on. I actually wanted to see... Was Martinelli sub, by the way? Or am I missing something? He was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was. I thought he was. I think everything... So I was thinking Martinelli, Madueke, Eze, Gyökeres, front four. Probably leave Zubamendi on with Rice and just change the front four. But that's taking Saka off. So, but anyway, I just thought he would get those 3 or 4 on, really, and put the spontaneity and the instinctive play out on the pitch. But he still sort of went a little bit he went for it, but didn't really go for it, if you know what I mean. And I don't think the substitutions helped Arsenal that much. It didn't add impetus to the game like I thought it would. And they didn't do enough. And other than set pieces and those corners, Arsenal were really, really struggling in open play to break Manchester United down. And I think tonight it'll take a little bit to pick themselves up.
So I don't know whether you experienced this. Obviously, you were in a team that was constantly chasing trophies, and lots of them. And Arsenal are chasing all 4 here, and they have been excellent week in, week out. And in a sense, there's no logic behind the anxiety, because you should trust them to win the games. But I speak as a football fan, you speak as a football player. And I know if I was an Arsenal fan, I would feel that anxiety, because it's been so long and it's so exciting and it's so possible. So how, as a player, do you surmount the anxiety, which is perfectly understandable, amongst the supporters?
Look, I can understand it a little bit from the supporters in certain parts of games where it's not going well. But I wouldn't expect Arsenal 4 points clear with a chance to go 7 points clear, 1-0 up in the game. I mean, they didn't fall apart, let's be clear. They didn't do, but they really did cause their own issues. I mean, the goal, to be fair, sums it up. The pass from Saliba into Zubamendi. Zubamendi, one of the sort of best controlling, composed midfield players in Europe in that position, making a mistake like that. And I wouldn't expect that level of anxiety to come into a team in January. I'd expect it to come maybe in March, when you've got, say, 10, 12 games to go, and people like us are really ramping the pressure up then and say, look, it's yours to lose, and things like that, which will come for this Arsenal team at a certain point. But I wouldn't have expected it 1-0 up against Manchester United, who haven't created much in the game up to that point, in January. I really wouldn't. But they just did wilt. They wilted for 10 minutes before half-time. Manchester United got back into it. They go in at half-time, Manchester United, into a dressing room with Michael Carrick, who I think has gone, look, is that it? They've thrown the best punches at you and they've not done much. And by the way, they look a little bit nervous. Go out and play. And that's what Manchester United did. And I have to say, from an Arsenal perspective, in terms of that's what I think will damage them today. Is not necessarily just the result. The result's painful. But the way in which, when they watch that game back, they've approached it, and the way in which they've handled certain moments in the game. This is an Arsenal team that are really reliable and consistent, very good defensively. They sustain attacks. They don't give teams chances. They don't concede 3. How long? 121 matches since they've conceded 3 at home. So we're not going overboard here by what we've seen. This is 3 seasons. Well, no, hang on. 120 matches home and away.
And away, yeah.
Yeah. So it's 3 seasons of football almost that we've seen where Arsenal have not conceded 3 goals. This is a monumental sort of moment here today where they've completely and utterly... falling apart's not the right terminology, but something's gone badly wrong here for them today. And we'll come on to why in a minute in terms of Manchester United's special goals that they've scored. But the way in which they felt out there on the pitch, and only they will know, but I can imagine that when you just sort of a bit nervous, a bit anxious, and you sort of close up a little bit and you play safe, and you lose that freedom and that expression in what you're doing, and that was that Arsenal team today, and they have to find out very quickly where that comes from and root it out.
Well, on that topic, how would you, if you were Arsenal, use this week? They've got the deadest of dead Champions League rubbers. They've won it, they're far away, they're playing a team that's right at the bottom and out of it. They've got a home game like that, and then they go to Leeds next week. And how would you use this week? I
think I would concentrate. I mean, Mikel Arteta will probably change the team dramatically in the midweek, but I think he needs to concentrate wholly on going to Leeds next weekend and get a win. Put to bed anything that this is just a blip today. This is just a sort of a one-off. But Yeah, concentrate. Well, look, you have to win the game in midweek as well, but they've got enough good players to be able to do that. But Leeds becomes very big for them. What they can't afford to do is go to Leeds and get beat up, you know, and lose there. And all of a sudden they're 1 point, and then all of a sudden there will be questions asked. There will be people saying, oh... I mean, I walked up the stairs today here with Arsenal. I think Patrick Vieira in the studio before the game said now or never. And there was a similar feeling from Arsenal fans walking up. There was 3 blokes that I was talking to, and they were like, "We don't win it this season, we'll never win." It's that type. You feel that. That is not putting pressure on Arsenal. That is how everybody feels. That's a good thing. That's because they feel like you're the best team in the league, and the other teams around are really struggling. So they've got to get over that feeling that maybe everybody sort of, you know, if they're going, don't go paranoid or insecure tonight and thinking that everybody's piling pressure on you. No, everyone's going to be asking the question, because that's the question that will get asked until you go and win a league. And those questions are going to come thick and